myself. Yeah. I'm feeling myself.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Loose Ends. I don't know why I keep saying that all the time. You don't need to fucking know that again. You know it's us. It's St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
I know, I am a
St.
creature of
Patrick's
habit,
Day, isn't
aren't I?
it? Like
It's St. Patrick's Day, and not that that has anything to do with my life particularly. I'm not a drinker. I've never celebrated any of those kinds of holidays, including Halloween, as Val knows. But I want to remember it this year because it is the 5th anniversary of one of my dearest friends' death.
That's right.
Well, no, it's not of her death, actually. It's of her birthday. Today is her birthday. She was born on March 17th, and she almost made it to her 70th birthday. She died on February 1st, I believe, 2019. So actually, it's 6 years.
Wow.
Wow.
How time goes, eh? Just like a blink.
Wow, I thought it was 5 because 25. I got it. Yeah, time is going fast. Anyway, so today neither one of us is in white. We've decided we don't like wearing those. They're constrictive and they bunch up around our necks, and you know it's fine for wearing somewhere else, but not on our own show. And so today I'm wearing my everyday black sweatshirt and trying to remind myself that life is good.
Life is good.
And, well, it doesn't feel like
I
it
know.
because we are now in Canada. I've just returned from several weeks in the United States. And let me tell you, as you are well aware, the last few weeks, Donald Trump has been on a tear, and tariffs are tearing this country apart in terms of its affiliation and affection for the United States. I grew up with it. I've been in Canada since I was 3 years old, which is a very long time ago. Every summer for 3 months, June, July, and August, I was a part of the Canadian culture. And I never thought I would live to see the day where the rift that has occurred in such a short time would ever occur in my lifetime. That this rift was so deep. So we're entitling this, I said, how about fear and loathing in Canada, you know, instead of Las Vegas, man, because it's a little scary. And I'm a U.S. citizen living in a land where right now I don't even feel safe with traveling with a blue passport.
I know. I mean, and that's the thing, you know, and I was saying to you yesterday that I was watching this CTV News, and which is a Canadian news network, and they were interviewing a couple who had been snowbirds for like in the last 20 years.
There's so many
Canadians. They have a house in
whatever.
Florida, and
Arizona.
their neighbors have been so just absolutely outrageously mean about the whole 51st state, and they said the tensions have rose so high that they're never coming back. They're selling their property. They're never coming back.
I think there are several
and that's just it. Like, there's this entitlement sometimes behind. And it's not all Americans,
of course
because
it's not.
It really
and
isn't.
Really,
like,
I'm going to limit it to about 27% of Americans who are the MAGA base.
Yes.
And that is basically the rabid, and I will use the word cultists, those who have become enthralled and idolize the leader, the Führer.
TikTok doesn't call them followers anymore.
What do they call them?
Swallowers.
Well, that too.
You know,
and they do. They whatever he says, and so I understand that some shit has to break down before it gets built up. If you're going to do a renovation of your bathroom, it gets messy. Ask us. We have been...
Well, yes.
You know, it took,
yes.
3 weeks to get the bathroom done upstairs.
Oh, God. It was a 3-day project that turned into 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I love contractors.
God
That's the
bless
way they
them.
work.
They did a great job.
I mean, it's not their fault.
The point is, it got very messy. The cats didn't like it. Everybody was like...
out of sorts. Out of
Yes.
sorts for 3 weeks. Even me.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
even me. I did not
and
have
I was
a bathtub.
gone most of the time, so yay.
Yeah.
But when I came back, it was still quite messy. And And so isn't that the way of renovations, right? That things get messier before they get cleaned up. And I understand that it needs to happen.
No,
in
but
the
I
US.
don't think,
I
okay,
just
okay,
don't think
okay,
it
but
needs
I
to
don't think
happen
your
this
idea
way.
of cleanup is Trump's idea of cleanup. And that's really what we're talking about here, is that Trump has an idea of what cleanup looks like. And it's not safe. It's not safe for women. It's not safe for anybody
trans.
of
It's not
trans.
safe for
It's
any
not safe
marginalized
for
group.
right, Black people. It's just not safe. So, whereas we look at it, yes, every system has to break down, but honestly, I feel like Trump is baiting everybody, that doesn't agree with him right now, like saying, like let's remove let's remove the Black Lives Matter display, okay? Number one, and
From
then
the website,
and then
or
let's
what?
from
Expand
Washington, they had a big display on the road, Black Lives Matter, and it was put up after George Floyd.
Okay, when you say a display, what does that
Like
mean?
it was all along the fences, Black Lives Matter, and all it.
Signage.
Well, no, not just that. It was on the pavement as well, and
Okay.
everything got removed and destroyed.
Okay.
Rolled over. Then he goes to Arlington and he removes all the Hispanic and Black women from. Says they're no longer, recognized.
Where?
At Arlington.
So
he's removing the names of all the Black and Hispanic women who fought in the wars that are in Arlington because they're women.
Because they fought.
Well, they're women.
No, but I mean, you're in Arlington because you were a member of the armed services.
No, but they're women. They're being removed. Their names are being removed.
Their names are being removed.
Yeah, they
but
can't
not
obviously.
their graves.
No, they can't remove their graves, but they're removing their names.
From where?
Like whatever, the signage and then they've executive
from the
orders.
website is what you
well,
mean,
and
that's
but it doesn't even
I've
matter. It doesn't even matter. What are you doing? You're baiting people. You want people to rise up, and I'm telling you, people, this
has happened before. If you study despots, if you study autocrats, one of the first places they go is the press. Then they marginalize people aside.
Yes.
Then I'm talking about institutions, and then they go for the educators, and they change the history, what you can teach, what you can't teach. So we've been through this before in the human cycle of learning. You would think that we had learned it by now, but no. We apparently, I don't know, by some accounts, we're accelerating our own evolution of consciousness. We're accelerating that through this choice. I mean, it's perverse.
Yeah. How you feel?
But that we've accelerated it through this choice to pursue that learning, that desire for evolution through these difficult circumstances brought on by this idiot of a man with a very, very small penis. I'm going to say it, by all accounts, this guy has got an inferiority complex that he's got to prove it through his masculinity. I was saying to you the other day, oh God, I'm on a rant. I think he's emotionally arrested as a teenager. I think there was a sexual trauma that was, and this is all my own conjecture, and as I say, entertainment purposes only, YouTube. I believe he was sexually humiliated in some sort of a public way. It could have been with his father initiating him into the delights of being a man, which is an old school thing that used to fucking happen.
Oh, I think it still does.
I think it still does too. And so, shit goes twisted in people's brains.
Yeah.
Add to that potentially a genetic leaning toward narcissism.
And his own mental illness.
Well, there it is. That's what I'm talking about. And leaning toward narcissism. And, malignant narcissism has only one trajectory. Not that I am a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I only have 30,000 hours of clinical application and practice in. And I am really confident in saying this man meets all the criteria in the DSM.
Oh, he does. And that's the thing, is that's what I'm saying, is he's pushing buttons. He wants people to rise up. He wants to create martial law. And
Yeah,
that's the key.
that's one
And
of the
people
things.
have to be careful. You be careful out there. Like right now, 5
No
Minnesota
illegal left turns.
That's how you get
senators
mad. Are trying to pass today a bill proposing Trump derangement syndrome.
Wait a minute. Back up. 5 what?
5 Minnesota senators.
There aren't 5.
5 Minnesota senators.
Yeah, but there aren't 5 senators.
They've got the
in any
names
state.
right here. Eric Lucero.
This would be state senators then.
Okay.
Not
Well, but
US
they're
Congress. Okay.
proposing
Yeah, go ahead.
for this to go
25th
through.
Amendment.
This is the Trump derangement syndrome, and this
Oh
is
my God, these
this
are
is-
Republicans.
This is Republicans,
Holy
and this
fuck.
is
So you
so
and I have this disease. We have.
I want you to think about that for a moment. When you've got a family
PDS.
full of Trumpers and one black sheep who's decided not to go that route, and what happens if stuff like this starts get passed through? Then then your family is now responsible and allowed to put you away for thinking the way you do. And this is what we're on the road
There we
to.
go.
So
That's authoritarian.
right, and we need to wise up and don't react right now. Now's not the time to react. Now's the time to actually plan.
Okay, so Fear and Loathing in Canada. If you trip across this video, if you don't live in Canada, you may have heard about all this stuff. You may be as outraged as some other countries are across the ocean. And you're not living here. Let me tell you what it's like right now to be on Canadian soil. I have never, well, with the possible exception of the immediate aftermath of 9/11, which I also experienced.
Yeah.
I've never felt this kind of unity. This
Yeah.
coming together in a way of just like, it's been immediate.
Yeah.
And across the board.
Yeah, no, we don't.
The board.
We're not like, we don't agree with everything. Like the reality is, I am disappointed in Ontarians for not coming out to vote. And we voted Doug Ford in. And as much as, he's rah fighting for here's the reality. And this is a point I have to make, is that
Right, we haven't talked about the Ontario elections. So
right. And so if you take, somebody protesting, there's a problem, and the problem is, social economics, and we hate it, blah, 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 and it vibrates at this, right? And then you got a bunch of protesters who, are the opposite of that. But you know what? The actual thing is, it's the same vibration. So that's what you're in risk of. That's what's happening.
Joining in.
You're joining in. So just don't do that shit. And that's
shit.
Doug Ford. Is Doug Ford's like, they're two kids like doing this on a playground. Fuck you, I'll turn off your lights. Fuck you, I'll do this to you. Fuck you, it'll be 50% tariffs. Fuck you. You know what I mean? That's what it is. And it's a bunch of fucking children. And that's not like, it's like we're forgetting that we're fucking
200%
diplomats
on
here.
champagne. I'll show you, you rich folks.
You know,
I mean, who the
like,
hell can afford champagne in the first place, let alone with a 200% tariff on it?
right?
But you go into an LCBO, which is the Licensed Bureau of Canadian Ontario's LCBO. I don't remember what it, Licensed Canadian Board of Ontario.
Yeah, it's Ontario.
Liquor, not license. It would be liquor. Liquor board, right? Okay,
Ontario,
so it doesn't matter. LCBO is what we call it, and LCBO is the single largest
in the world.
Purchaser
In the world.
In the world of wine.
Yeah. In the fucking world.
In the world. And her voice raises an octave.
Come on. And here's the thing. I work at a restaurant, so I've been trying to get rid of my American beer, and I'm like $5 a bottle. People are still like, no.
People are like, no. So
No.
there is no wine. Everything from California.
We just took it all off the shelf.
It's gone.
Took it all off the shelf.
And they're leaving the shelves empty.
Yeah.
Just to prove that it ain't there.
Yeah.
then I sent this to my sons. Well, no, to one of them. I had told him about a week ago, whenever the Canadian U.S. Ice hockey game was.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this
and
was like 2 weeks ago or something. It was early March, I believe, or end of February. I was gone, right? I was down in the States, right? So I didn't watch it, but I heard about it.
Well, the States won the first game, and then the Canada won the final game.
Whatever won the one that Wayne Gretzky goes out on the ice, and he has nothing Canadian on. He has no pin, he has no nothing.
Yeah.
And like Canadians
are like, you're fucking canceled. Canceled, Wayne Gretzky. Who the fuck you? Yeah. You sold your soul when you moved to LA, fucko.
So his wine. I'm getting back to LCBO. His wine, and I have the picture somewhere. I'll find it on my computer if I need to, or I've probably thrown it away.
Got removed.
No, because it's Canadian. I guess maybe, I don't know, but it was on the shelf. But it's Gretzky brand of rosé or whatever the fuck it was. And on the side where it says, the description of it, there's a little box, you shop at the LCBO, and it says what you can pair it with. This goes very well with duck.
A little sheet you rip off.
This goes well with boiled raccoon. Goes well with boiled raccoon. It's paired well. So they let him know. I mean, so it's everywhere. This thing about becoming the 51st state, and then you jump in. 51st state ain't gonna happen. What do they think? You think California's bad?
No.
Wait till you get a state.
Right. And even smart conservatives know this. They go, fuck that. We don't want Canada. There's too many liberals. They'll fuck up our electoral vote. Right. So that's the reality, because it is.
He thought this through. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
he didn't quite.
But he didn't think anything through. He fired all these people from the fucking airlines, and then planes started crashing. He fired all these people from the nuclear plants. They tried to get them back, and they wouldn't respond to his emails, for fuck's sakes. Like there was no planning.
It's a lot of boing, 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 boing. And so I think a lot of us are in a place, or a lot of people are in a place of whiplash, right? And so in
whiplash.
Canada, anyway, part of that whiplash is a real preparation for the potential
hard times
of and I say this word lightly because it is, very laden with different interpretations, but a preparedness for war. And I don't mean with guns and bombs and that kind of thing. And people,
wars aren't fought that way necessarily.
That's not the way they're doing it. They are fighting back with their pocketbook, and everybody's on board, in the same way that I have heard my mother talk about the American spirit and unification after Pearl Harbor, and the entering of World War II, wherein everything was rationed. Everything was rationed, right? And all the nylons and chocolate and all these sweeties and all those movies that we've seen. But there was this, I can't say desire, but a begrudging, absolutely, of course I will give this up. And of course I will take on extra burdens, women going to work in factories and the like.
Yeah.
This is happening here. And I say I've been here almost 30 years, are preparing for the potential. And this is what it feels like. And the only analogy that I can use, and I tried to explain it to somebody south of the border, because they understand it intellectually. We're talking emotionally here.
Well, and fitting on that emotion, like, what would you do if suddenly Russia came to, started like all this shit about making you a part of Russia, and all of a sudden you would lose all your sovereignty and you would lose the identity that you've known your whole life?
They can't relate to that because they are the supreme economic and military power on the planet. And so there has been an arrogance that has grown since the 1950s, 40s and 50s, when we were the big boy on the block, and we went from big boy on the block to bully on the block. And so now it's, knocking him down time. And this is the ebb and flow. This is the trajectory. This is the bell curve of every tyrannical, autocratic leader.
You're
from
right
the
about
Roman Empire on.
I think you're right because what?
I have one thing to say, and if I don't say it, I will forget it. And that is this: when I was trying to explain to the person, south of the border, imagine that you're married, you're happy, and then you find out of the blue that your husband has been cheating with your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend is your best friend. The sense of betrayal that Canadians feel is akin to that. Or let's make it even worse. It's your sister. It's your fucking sister, and you find out your husband has been fucking your sister. Who are you mad at? Well, you're mad at both of them, aren't you? I mean, you're my sister. What are you doing? So play that analogy any way you want.
Yeah.
Canada's the person in the wrong. Okay, they have been cheated upon, and that's how they're feeling right now.
Well, yeah, we've been wrong. We're not in the wrong.
Angry, outraged, and scared.
Well, and you know what? Somebody even, I believe it was from CNN, basically said, nobody's listening to Trump. They're listening to this guy. And Trudeau came on the day he came out with those tariffs, and Trudeau, say what the fuck you want about that man. He is eloquent, and the shit that comes out of his mouth is brilliant. And I love him, and I voted for him, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And I was sad to see him leave because I think he did 8 years really well during very hard times that were unprecedented, in history. So
yes.
Anyway, the ignorance of some of the MAGAs is quite baffling to me, and I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. And as my aunt would say, if shoes were clues, these people would be barefoot. And it's true because you have MAGA going to Mexico with all their MAGA gear on and vacationing. Like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And you know what? This makes me laugh because it brings me back to Sons of Anarchy, the
TV show.
The show, because one thing that show really helped you understand what in the criminal system, there are codes, okay? And you get to certain levels, and bikers,
their own
motorcycles,
sense of honor.
Yeah. But motorcycle
I get it.
clubs and the mafia are very leveled. Because they have family values. Okay. They believe in the wife, the children, and all of that. You get to cartel, they don't give a flying fuck about anything. Gotcha. Anything. They will kill your entire family and not blink a fucking eye about it. It wasn't personal to them. So you would go to their country and wear your MAGA shit? That's dumb.
Well, I think, you see, they feel a sense of justification. He's breaking things apart because they need to be broken. Okay, that's great. And he has a plan. What I don't understand is why they think that that the plan isn't to enrich himself.
No, because here's the thing. These people are stuck with, I want it broken down. I want everything broken down for them. But don't interrupt my life. Don't take away my job. Don't take away my food stamps. Don't take away this. Don't take away that.
And then they came for me.
Right.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, exactly.
We're back. I needed to blow my nose, and I wanted to also get the famous poem when you're talking about, and then it isn't going to hit people until it hits them personally. Now, I'm not going to talk about my own personal situation, but I am in that retired camp who did her time in the US of A and is receiving Social Security, for which I paid in. The long term of that is in jeopardy. So it hasn't really hit me except in the price of cheese, in the market and shit like that. But,
right.
So this, and I can't read, these aren't my close-up glasses. I have two kinds of glasses now. I think some people will recognize this, and this is the famous quote or poem by Martin Naimula.
I think you butchered that shit.
Naimula. It's an O with one of those two little things above it. Like it's a little man going, oh! First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Yeah, first they came for me.
Well, and this is it. I mean, and let me clarify that I think this is the massive difference between hardcore
Maggots.
Yeah, maggots. That's a good one.
Hardcore maggots and
hardcore maggots are all about needing to find out themselves, where liberals, and there's a lot of us now that are willing to speak up. There wasn't 80 years ago, but there's a lot of us now. Liberals see that shit before it's coming, and they want to prevent it, and they want to prevent people from being in these situations. So, and I'm always gonna think I'm on the right side of this. When it comes to wanting the best for collectively everybody.
I when you said I'm a liberal and there's more of us, I was thinking, well, I'm a progressive for sure, and I still believe, for example, in smaller government, and I adhere to some of the old time platform issues that were the basis at one time in the 50s of the Republican Party. The small business owner and the, giving back to your community through employment of others and things like that. But it wasn't the Reagan trickle-down economics that came into fashion with Wall Street and your suspenders, in the 1980s. And I lived through that story arc of the economy. I didn't pay as much attention, obviously. I wasn't old enough to really pay attention, but I lived through the gas lines. I remember that. Depending upon, I think, birthday or name, it was like every other day. I think it was even odd. And you could go to the gas pump and people would wait in line because of the gas shortage. And I was late 70s. 78, 79, something like that, 80. And then Reagan came in on that wave. And trickle-down economics. And the war machine really geared up, and then we had an opportunity to kick the can really hard, and
But you've had this system in place where it has been a trickle down effect, and you've given to different organizations and things
it
and whatever.
Trickle down, though. That's
but
just
no,
the
but
thing.
now whatever did trickle down isn't anymore. It's at a dead stop.
It doesn't. No, because it's in Elon Musk's
That's what I'm
pocket.
saying. It's done.
And, on one side he's got his wallet, on the other side he's got his ketamine. Yeah. So there you go. He's all set. He can fly his jet anywhere he wants to go and stay high. I
half expected him to be walking with his thumb in his mouth and a blanket like Linus on fucking, But Linus is kind of wise, so I can't even give him Linus, man. He's got to be somebody stupider.
Okay, you know what? I think we could talk on this a lot longer, and I want to, but we're going to throw this into two parts.
Okay.
Because there is so much more to say.
Well, and the reality is, I don't even know what the next 4 fucking years will look like. So this might be like the subject for that long.
Yeah.
God, I hope not. I had to get fucking fork in my eye. Like 2 at the same time. Ooh, that would be bad.
Okay, say goodbye, Gracie.
Goodbye, Gracie.